Welcome to PR After Hours, your weekly cocktail of news and interviews with leading thinkers in PR, marketing, and business. So pull up a chair in our virtual lounge. Your host, Alex Greenwood, will be right back after this.
Well, welcome back to the Virtual Lounge. And you know, our next guest is somebody how I refer to as the MVP. He has been on this show a lot. And it's not just because he's my friend, it's because he's one of the all-star OGs when it comes to sales enablement, marketing, personal branding. This guy is the business. And we're supposed to talk about certain things. And he says, Alex, we're going to do it my way this time. And I'm like, okie doke. So here's my friend, Tom Mulligan from Sandler Training right here in Kansas City. Tom, what do you got in store for us? Because I'm all just a tingle figuring out what you're going to do.
Let's flip the script.
Okay.
Yeah, and this, by the way, listeners to the program, this is a surprise to him. Okay, we didn't plan this, but I've been struggling or working with an area in selling, which is the storytelling that you do in selling. Great salespeople are pretty good storytellers. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And so rather than you interview me, I want to interview you because you're a great storyteller. You write a lot of books, you edit my stuff, right? You're a better storyteller than I am. And what I'd hope to do is to break this down into a few points that you can give us on a great opening to that story. You know, the body of it, what to look out for, a great ending to that story. Not from a sales point of view, from a pure storytelling point of view.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we do that?
We can do that. Sure.
Well, let me ask one question and get this rolling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing you want to have in your mind when you're getting ready to tell a story?
First thing to have in mind when you're getting ready to tell a story, as in
before you do the story,
before writing a story, or before you get in front of people,
presenting it. What's going through your mind at the beginning of this?
You better have an ending.
So you're looking at the back end.
Look at the back end, because a lot of good, if not great, storytelling involves you're kind of creating like a trail of breadcrumbs to that ending from the beginning, and it works so much better when by the time the ending comes. It's more satisfying when you give you a quick example. If your story's about a guy who's really upset about something, but he has to go to work and pretend like he's not upset, you can kind of drop that in there, right? And then he goes through all these things, and maybe by the end of it, he's not upset anymore. But then at the very end, the denouement is the thing that really upset him turns out to be the thing that actually was beneficial. And you're tying it together that way. So that's the first thing, in my opinion. You've got to know what your ending's going to be, and then you bring the reader there. Sometimes, Tom, if you watch a movie, you already know how the movie's going to end, don't you? Right. I mean, some movies you watch, and you're like, but, you know, some people might say, oh, well, that it's not a good movie if you go, of course it is. Why do you think people read mysteries? Agatha Christie, come on, you can figure these out pretty easily. People want to be confirmed in their feelings and in their thoughts.
Confirmed. Interesting. That's a great point. All right, so now you have the ending in mind.
Right.
You're ready to begin. What's the structure? Where do you start?
Okay, let me give you an example from one of my books. I started one of my books, I did mystery thrillers. And one of them I started out with just flat out the murder. And it grabbed you, because that's the thing these days, especially with the attention spans we have today, which are tiny. You better grab them in the first few pages or you're going to lose them. That's why you don't want to start with a lot of exposition. That's why my first book, I started with kind of, well, let's go through this guy's routine. And one would be cool when you find out this guy's a killer. Yeah, but a lot of people don't have patience for that anymore. And so what you've got to do is grab them right away. So if you're doing a mystery, have the mystery happen immediately. Have the killing, the murder, the robbery, whatever it's going to be. Get everybody, basically, I liken it to this. It's like you're picking up hitchhikers, but you're not stopping. You're slowing down to about 40 miles an hour and hoping they'll jump in.
Okay. I generally don't, but great metaphor. So you're saying get a hot start.
Yeah.
Dive in big and early.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Now you've got their attention.
Right.
Now you begin to weave.
Yes.
What's that process like?
That's where you give the reader a little bit of, or the listener, a little bit of a break. It's like, okay, wow, there's some stuff going on, but then you can start weaving in, great word. That's where you can start weaving in some of that exposition that you think is important for the reader or the listener to glean, to fully appreciate the story, right? If we're back to my bad example earlier, guy's having a bad day, you might learn that, actually he just left the dentist and had a root canal. His wife left him, his dog left it with her, all these things. You could start kind of piecing that together, and you can build kind of a tension, because then you're starting to go, well, where are we going here? But you're finding out more. So I like to do that. I like bam, and then let's weave in a little backstory. And it's also, here's the important thing. You got to make your listener or your reader care about your central character. Tom, real quick, we've come off the age of the anti-hero being, Tony Soprano, Walter White. You start cheering for the bad guy, right?
Right.
Those days, I think, are starting to recede for a lot of reasons.
Oh, yeah?
But yeah, I think so. But it's going to take time. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when I say this, you got to get the audience on your character's side, whether it's only on the side just to get through the end of the story, or it's relatable enough they can see themselves in the character. Sales wise, by the way, I'm an old salesman too. Man, if I could get people look me in the eye and nod.
Yeah.
That's what you want from a reader, right? You're the master at this. I've taken so many courses from you in person, and I see how I've watched people watch you, and when you'll make a point, and then I think you have them when they start nodding along.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And that's true in any interaction.
Sure.
If you agree, it's almost hard not to nod, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're weaving. To go back to your structure to begin with, we start hot, we weave detail, and then all of those details have to circle or be resolved or be finished by the end. Is that correct?
They should all be additive to the story. If you get to the end of the story and you find there's something that's Stephen King has a great saying about writing. He says, you've got to learn to kill your darlings. Well, what does that mean?
Kill your what now? I'm sorry.
Kill your darlings.
Oh, kill your darling.
Your darling. You may have written a story that had some, actually, I know you have, that have had some facts.
I know you're tired of reading it just now that we brought that up, because he's helping me. You've been helping with it.
A little bit, but not as much as people might think. Anyway, because anyway, we talk about that. But killing your darlings means it's like, you've probably had some stuff that you wrote in your initial drafts, and I said we don't need that.
Yeah, you told me.
Yeah, and like I've had some scenes that I thought were just brilliant in some of my books, and my editor was like, "That's great. Save that for like your short story collection. Has nothing to do with this, because the audience does not have time for you to chase rabbits these days. So that's something you got to watch out for.
Talk about length. So I think we both agree that the attention span is shrunk to the point where the story better be quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in a sales environment, okay, I'll speak to that story needs to be not only last, but very brief. But it has to be done.
But the thing you've always been really good at is framing things, Tom, and pulling people in relatively quickly. That's an art. And by the way, that takes a lot of practice. You're naturally gifted at it. Not everybody is. And, not everybody, a lot of people think, well, I can spell, therefore I'm a writer. Well, not really. You have you have mastered the tools for writing, which is like, handwriting or typing, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily an automatic storyteller. Well, that's the same thing with sales too. I happen to think that the best salesperson, like you said, are storytellers. The best salespersons are storytellers, but I also think that they're gifted observers of human nature. And you are one. You are one. And
by the way, one last question.
Sure.
This is a little tougher. Let's talk about AI. Now, there's a lot of writing that's being edited by or created by or restructured by AI. Where are you in your thinking on that?
All right. AI ain't going anywhere, first of all. So I've worked AI to ain't. Okay. It's not going anywhere. It's a tool. I rather glibly used to say, well, if you've got people would say, I'm not doing that. That's terrible. I said, do you use spell check? Use Grammarly? That's a form of AI. Here's how you want my use case? This is how I use AI. I have a long commute, as you know, to work. It's about 80 minutes each way.
Yeah.
I have Chat GPT on my phone. I will turn it on and I will dictate the ideas for one of my latest LinkedIn or Substack essay. I'll just say, take a note, and I will tell it all the things. And I'll say, pull in some writing from Robert Greene. I'd like a little Scott Galloway here. Find me a quote from around 1932 about the effect of blah, blah on the economy. Let's pull that together. Give me an outline based on this, but I want to go from here to here. And I send it, and then Chat GPT comes back and says, well, that sounds great. Here's an outline for you. I take that outline, I write a draft. I might run that draft back through Chat and say, what do you think? That I use a prompt and I say, speaking as my editor, is this landing?
Very good. Very
right.
good.
You have to give it a prompt, though, by the way. And also, I've used it long enough to where it knows me. I pay $20 a month for Chat, so it knows me. It knows my writing, and it describes my writing to me. But then here's my other thing. I will take it from there, and I have another AI called Claude.
Claude, yes.
And Claude, in my opinion, is the best writing one out there. So I will take that, and I'll say, I'm a masochist. So I'll say, as an editor of the Atlantic magazine, please read this and let me know. And I mean, Claude is merciless. And, and I use that. And then by then I go back, some of the things that Claude or Chat recommends, I don't do. And I'll tell you why, because I'm not a machine and it needs to have my voice, and my voice is flawed. And I do that. So that's my process. So I'm not afraid of AI. I think everybody should start using it. If you're not using it to get rid of a lot of scut work at your job, you're missing out. You're really missing out. I could not do my job as successfully as I am right now without it.
You know what? Thank you very much. I think I'm going to be a better storyteller.
You're a great storyteller. You wrote a wonderful Christmas story, and you need to send me the final version. But it was a pleasure working with you on it. And, you've been holding out on me, pal.
How's that?
Because you've just had this magnificent life. I had no idea you'd ever done what you described there.
Magnificent?
Yeah, I think so.
The story very closely, my friend.
I don't know. But I'll tell you something, listeners. I don't know if Tom's going to ever share this story with anybody else, but beyond your family and friends. But I felt like I was there in the car and in the place that he ended up.
Oh, let's do this. Hang it on your Substack.
Really?
Yeah, it's ready to go. I've already done it. I finished it. I touched it. I wove it. I concentrated on the end, just like you told me. And it's ready. And I will send it to you.
Please do. And Tom, how do people get a hold of you if they want to tell you how brilliant your story is?
They can come through your Substack if they wish.
Okay. Leave it.
And I'm always available at tom.mulligan@sandler.com. I'm always available there.
Oh man! Hey,
thank
Tom,
you so much for doing this for all of us.
Well, thank you, and for letting me off the hook, and you hosting, or you being the host. And hey, listen, Tom, I'm sincere. I just tell you real quick. I want listeners to hear this. You truly have been. You set the record for appearances on the show over the past 5 years. Invaluable stuff. Great amount of downloads. I owe you a ton for that. But also. You and I aren't going anywhere, and I still have my Substack. We could still do this in video and put it on Substack. It's just I got something had to give. That's all.
Yes. So you are by now announcing that PR After Hours is coming to a very graceful end.
Coming to a graceful end. I will say this now. We're recording this on December 16th. This ought to be out before the weekend. The last episode will drop on December 30th. So I hope everybody will stay subscribed. Wonderful run. Thank you so much for taking the time. Tom Mulligan, thank you, my friend.
You know what that means? It's last call here at the Virtual Lounge. Be sure to visit prafterhours.com for links to what we discussed in this episode and more. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And join us next time for another round at PR After Hours with Alex Greenwood.